This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not. Welcome to the Warner Brothas Podcast. I'm Kyle, joined as always joined most of the time, I should say, by my brother Keenan, and joined by Branndon Petty as well. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
I'm great. Just talking to Branndon a little bit about the NCAA tournament and his Florida as he's wrapping now. So shout out to Florida in a real close game, and they got a good next couple games coming up. So that tournament's gonna be fun.
Yeah, go Gators.
Brandon, how you feeling about your squad?
The old chomp. I'm not gonna lie. I think I talked to you a little bit. I don't know if I did or not. I was scared as hell on what was it, Sunday? I was like, even kind of when we started off on that little run, I was like, all right, it's gonna be. It kind of just felt like one of those games. Like I didn't even looking at the bracket. Like I would have obviously rather had Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I told like my dad and like a couple of my friends, I was like, it's gonna be a closer game. Like than what people just think that we're gonna come in and dog walk UConn. Like that's not gonna happen. Like I didn't think it would be 2 points. I was thinking maybe like 6 to 8. But I mean, to be honest with you, when Diabate hit that damn near half court shot right before half, I was like, oh, this might be a game that we lose. And then we just come through at the end and play like we have majority of the year. I think that was probably our second worst game of the season behind the Tennessee game when we went to Knoxville and lost, I think, by 20. And then Walter Clayton just does Walter Clayton things. Just goes out there, like hits crazy step back threes. Like the dude gets a shot whether he's wide open or contested. And then, like I was telling Keenan earlier, like I think if you were looking at the box score, like I think the score is I think it's a little closer than what it probably would have been. Like, the half court shot, like 9 out of 10 times that's not falling. We missed a dunk. Our free throws, like we missed a ton of free throws. And then too, like Liam McNeely hit like a super deep three to end the game as well too. But I was pretty happy about it. Like, especially like UConn, like 13 straight March Madness games, like haven't lost a game in March in like 1,300 days. Like, ton of championship experience on the roster. They got lottery talent on the roster with McNeely. So like I was happy with it. Like I think a lot of people downplayed the matchup, and I really think it's big like for our guys to go in and like to knock off a team of that magnitude, regardless of what the record is. I don't care what the record is. I think a win like that is just a big statement.
Oh, absolutely.
Championship pedigree.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you feel about your chances against Maryland?
So I like us against Maryland. Derek Queen obviously scares me. Derek Queen is super, super talented. They've got good guard play too. I think we'll be able to wear them down though. Maryland honestly relies on their starting five for, I think it's like 85, 90% of their production. They bring in guys for spot minutes, like Keenan was saying earlier. And really like, it's easier said than done, but if you get their bigs into foul trouble, then I think it's really going to handcuff Maryland. And plus two, we're super deep. Like we have, if Sam Alexis comes back, which I think he should, we could have up to a 10-man rotation. And like we've got guys like Denzel Aberdeen, Thomas Hawk, Handlocked, and guys like that coming off the bench that would start at a lot of other programs, especially Aberdeen. Like Aberdeen is a super high quality player. So I think we match up well. I could see it being a high-scoring game, like kind of tight at first, and then we eventually pull away at the end, probably in the second half. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like an 86 to 78 kind of game, and we end up coming out on top.
I could definitely see that.
So you got Elite Eight expectations.
Go on, Kyle.
No, I was just saying you got Elite Eight expectations.
Clearly. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like if I honestly have Final Four. Like I think Final Four because like I look at who we're playing next, and it's the winner of, I think it's Arkansas and Texas Tech. Now Arkansas is super hot right now. I get that. We beat Arkansas in the regular season. Texas Tech is good, but like I really do think we're a top 14 in basketball. Like I think Final Four is what we should be looking at, and then say to ourselves, hey, are we playing Auburn? Like, who are we playing? Because it's going to be somebody on that side of the bracket. But I think I would be happy if we made it to the Elite Eight. Obviously, if we lost in the Elite Eight, then like it's a bummer. But like, I think it's a successful season. But like, I'm personally hoping for Final Four, possibly a national championship berth. I think we are good enough to get to the national championship. And if it were to be against Duke, I think that'd be a good game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Last question about Florida, Branndon. Who's your favorite Gator basketball player of all time?
Oh God, of all time.
He's a Joakim Noah guy.
I do love Joakim Noah, but
shout to Joakim.
So it could be Walter Clayton with how this goes, like with how this all finishes up. It could be Walter Clayton. If we win a national championship, then Walter Clayton's number one. But I love Corey Brewer. Corey Brewer is actually my favorite of all time. Corey Brewer, well, actually, I got a 1A, 1B. Corey Brewer and Chris Chiozza.
Okay.
Chiozza.
Okay. I like it.
Scotty Wilbekin would be like number 3 too. Scotty Wilbekin was nice too.
I like it. It's a good crew of people.
Okay. Y'all had Brad Beal too, right?
Yeah, Bradley Beal.
Brad Beal's a Gator, right?
Brad Beal was a one and done with us. I think it was like the number one recruit in high school, I think.
Yep. He was like a top 2-ish recruit. Trent was a very big fan of Bradley Beal in college. Like I was one of his favorite players going into the draft that year. So Trent, I remember that specifically because of that.
I love Bradley Beal. He was I honestly, like, a lot of the times I forget that he went through UF, but like UF, honestly, like in the past, we've had a lot of like high caliber high school players that have came through that just haven't panned out. Like I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head, like in the late teens and even like 2019, 2020 that were high caliber guys that just didn't pan out. Like just mainly because of coaching.
Okay, I'm.
Well, listen, fellas, I've got. Oh, go ahead, Ken. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm very excited for this tournament, like the next kind of crop, and I do think, I think there's a chance you get all 4 1 seeds, and I know that like obviously they're the 1 seeds for a reason, but a lot of the time you don't get all 4 1 seeds. You'll get a 2, a 3, maybe a Cinderella or something along those lines. But I genuinely think like you could get all 4 1 seeds, and I think this round could be some of the toughest games for the 1 seeds, especially I think Maryland's going to be tough. I do think if you get Tech or Arkansas, you guys should take care of business there. Like you should take care of business here too, but like it's going to be interesting to see. I do think that the Sweet 16 could be some of the toughest games for all of the 1 seeds, but I do think it could be a 1 seed Final Four, which would actually be kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that would be. I think it would be. Top 4 teams in basketball, like why not?
Yeah, why not get the 4 best teams to play against 2 phenomenal games? That'd be great to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do get that once in a while. Like I remember that happened a couple times back in my college basketball watching days, and it seems like it happens in the women's bracket more frequently. And I know that's some of the complaints I've heard from people talking about this tournament is that there is not a lot of Cinderellas. But it depends on the year. And I know some of the complaints about this tournament too is like, with this Sweet 16 coming up, how many of the teams actually have like their original starting 5 from even last year, let alone 2 years ago. There's so much movement that there's a lot of people that don't even have, or a few teams that don't even have starting 5s that have one guy represented from last year. Yeah. So needless to say, college basketball is in a different place. I'm as about a casual viewer as you can get. Like I don't even watch until tournament time, if at all, if I even check in during tournament time. So it's all interesting to me. Granted, I don't even watch college football either. So all of this is just from the outside looking in. I don't know how it would be to be someone who watches frequently. How would you feel with, there's not even this much turnover in the NBA or NFL as there is in college sports. So it's very interesting to listen to people's analysis from the outside of the college game and then listen to you guys who pay more attention than me, obviously, to the college game. So it's weird. It just seems like it's such a different place, obviously from 20 years ago, but even like 5-6 years ago. like when Zion was in college. So
yeah,
it's crazy
absolutely.
how much the game's changed.
The NIL really kind of did all of it. So like you had that, and then like you also have to add in too, especially on the basketball side of things, where the NBA made it so you didn't have to go to college 1 year; you just had to have 1 year pro experience. So like, I know that's kind of been a thing, but like more people have been utilizing that. Like people like LaMelo, who you would expect to be a one and done in college, and it's like, no, I'm just gonna kind of go do my thing over here in Australia, and then I'm gonna go over here. So you kind of lose some of the talent that way too, but at the same time, I think you are going to start getting with the NIL deals, maybe not a Cooper Flag, but a Con Knipple. You might get like someone like that could stay a second year. If you see him, he's going to be a lottery pick, easy. So like he's going to be in this year's draft. But like there's some times where a player like that who might go 11th can see a class next year and he might be 3. And he might stay because he can get NIL money and then be in a top 3 pick to get a better contract and things like that. I know obviously lottery contracts are lottery contracts, but like a difference between a 3 and an 11 kind of thing. So could just be that.
I just wonder if there's any regulation coming for the NCAA. If there's ever going to be any sort of regulation to where like you make a guy stay more than 1 year, or if there's any penalties for this type of stuff, or
I don't think so much in basketball. Like I think they could. I see more of the regulation in football. Like I think football needs it a hell of a lot more than what basketball does. I really think if they're going to do anything regulation wise, it would be like the transfer portal. You don't, like I said, you don't really see it. Like it's there in basketball, but it's not there as much as it is in football, where you've got guys going to 4 or 5 different schools. I could see them regulating that. And honestly, too, to your point, Kyle, like I could see like if there's a world where like say if someone signed an NIL contract, like let's say it was a big brand deal and they say, hey, you've got to stay here for 2 years, like to get X amount of money, like what if that amount of money is more than a rookie scale deal? Like I think that's something else that kids could potentially think about. Like you're starting to see like foreign-born players come play college, like Kasparis Yakashonis for Illinois. Like I want to say he's Lithuanian or something like that. But like there's guys that are coming from overseas to play college ball now because of NIL. But I think they definitely got to regulate. They got to regulate something, whether it be with NIL, transfer portal, like just anything like that. Because it's honestly like it's like a professional league now. Like it's all like it's free agency.
Yeah, it is free agency, and the thing about it too is I actually wrote about this today because there was like these very lesser players from Purdue, like there's 3 sisters they're transferring, they're in the transfer portal. But the thing is that I didn't even fully realize is there's like do not contacts. Yeah. So which essentially is, Kyle, for you if you don't know that, like teams and schools cannot contact that player, they have to initiate the contract. So like they even have more power over like their transfer. It's not like they can be coerced by like it's recruiting. It's literally like, no, I'm actually just going to talk to Alabama and Georgia and we'll talk to UF and then we'll be good. Like it's kind of crazy that that's a thing. It's kind of like if you had like a no trade clause, it's like, well, you run it by me and then I'll tell you what's going to go on. It's basically to make it so these athletes aren't too bombarded with a bunch of different schools at them, even though they kind of deal with that during the recruiting process anyway. So you think they'd be used to it if at 20, if they're used to it at 17, 18.
Yeah.
But hey, I don't make the rules. I just read them, follow them.
And 9 out of 10 times they know where they're going to already at that point because they've probably already been tampered with. You see it all the time in football. Like I agree. They got to stop that. Like that's something that should.
Yeah. You kind of have it like for the 9 times out of 10, you got an idea of where you're going, unless it's like usually the top prospects are like, well, 5 teams are saying that I could go wherever I want, so I'll wait. But usually like the mid-level people are like, oh, I'm gonna get more money here. They're telling me I'd get playing time here. Yeah, I'll just go to the school.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild because I mean I know I saw that the transfer portal opened this past Monday. I mean, you got teams preparing for the Sweet 16 who then also got to recruit or at least got to check in with, who's coming into the school, who's checking out of the school. I can't even imagine being a coach in the NCAA.
I was talking, I'm going to shout out Bill Courtney. He is now the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes. It was Jim Larinaga, but he got done. So now it's Bill Courtney. Actually, randomly enough, Kyle dad has connections to him. So like through like a friend, like they have a mutual friend, dad and him. And when I was doing the Believe in Miami basketball thing, I actually did an interview with him, and I asked him about the transfer portal, and he was like, "Yeah, no, it's a season within the season. Like we've got our playing." We got our players, and then we've got like just a separate staff who's just dealing with transfer portals. And he was one of the guys, because he was the assistant coach at the time, that would make these house visits and talk to these other people. It's like you kind of got to prepare for it, and especially for the team, you almost get like it's so much going on at one point. It's kind of crazy. It'd be like if you put NFL free agency in January. It'd be like, okay, so you have the team. You'd be like, okay, so
your
like
whole team's eligible for.
It'd be like the whole team can go into free agency if they want to. So it'd be like, oh, the Bills are in the playoffs, and we've got Mac Hollins saying like, yeah, I'm fine with free agency. Or it's like you've got, I was like, okay, it's like it'd just be like, what's going on? Yeah, James Cook is like, oh, this might be my last game, boys. Like, I don't know. Mid-season, we're worrying about that when it's the most pivotal time of the year. So it's kind of crazy to think that that's what they do. They definitely should change it and push it back. Like, there's no reason why this should be going on during the tournament. Like, it can wait.
Absolutely.
It can wait 3 weeks. Like, it's not a big deal. Just let it after the tournament. But yeah. Alrighty, good March Madness stuff.
Sure. Well, fellas, I've got 4 statements here.
Love it.
Music, basketball, or otherwise. Similar, Keen, to what we did the other day with Tim. What do you think, right? I'll throw out statements. You guys will give me your response, essentially, to that. Then I've got 4 kind of in the same vein, but it's almost word association. Mm-hmm. Kind of they end on a ... and you guys kind of fill in the blanks for me. That'll be in the second half. But we'll start. You guys ready? We'll just go into it without further ado. Alrighty. We'll start with college, since we started with college to open this podcast. Cooper Flagg. He will be the first freshman since Carmelo Anthony to lead his team to an NCAA championship. Branndon, what do you say to that?
Damn. All right. As non-biased as I can possibly be, there's a very high chance that could happen. Like, Duke's a very talented team. Like, because like, obviously Cooper Flagg is like the top dog there, but like there's Colin Kneppel, Tyrese Proctor, Malouch. Like they've got like a solid 7, 8 guys. Like a lot of lottery guys too.
Three players on that team will be off the board before pick 10, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got a really good team. And obviously when you have Cooper Flagg ahead of it all, like, then that obviously is going to help. I mean, I think there's a strong possibility of that happening. Even, I hate to say it, like, even if it's against UF, like, if UF made it, I think UF has to play their A game. Like, I think it's definitely possible for UF to beat Duke. Like, you can beat Duke. Like, it's happened. They've obviously lost 3 times this year. But I think there's a strong possibility that it happens.
Yes, Kyle.
Give me a percentage on that. Give me a percentage on that, Branndon, and Keenan after.
I mean, it's got to be more than 50, 60%. Like, I mean, it's college basketball. Like, there's a lot of variance too. Like, what's not to say that, like, if they get Houston, like, if Houston, beats them or whatever, like, I'll say 55%. I'll do the median. I'll say 55% just because of the variance of college basketball. Like, even how good they are, like, we've seen, like, mighty teams like this in the past kind of slip up or have a bad shooting game, and they end up, losing in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 or whatever.
For sure.
So with me, I've got this honestly at like 70%. And
wow.
They feel like UConn did last year to me, where they won, like, UConn won every game by double digits, and it was like, if UConn plays their best, no one's really beating them. Like, Duke's lost 3 times this year. They've lost by 3, 5, and 6 points. Every
Yeah.
game's been close, and they lost to the Jayhawks, who were the number one team in the country at the time. They lost to Kentucky, who is
And
a
Clemson.
and Clemson, and the Clemson one was the one that was a little bit of the head scratcher, but the Kentucky one and the like those, you're not going to go perfect, so it makes sense. And Cooper Flagg is just as good as advertised, which is why I think, he's leading his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. So, like, he's leading across the board and everything. So yeah, I've got Duke, and I'm hoping if someone it's going to be really shocking if Duke doesn't win to me. Like,
Yeah.
can it happen? Of course. It's March Madness is one game. These are still kids who haven't been in the highest leverage moments, but like, I'm kind of shocked I'm really shocked if they lost. But yeah, Duke 70%. I think they're winning it.
Very interesting. So you're saying Duke over the field?
Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah.
So outside looking into me, just when I used to watch college basketball, obviously like last decade was the height of one and done, right? So you had a lot of these star freshmen coming in, maybe even multiple star freshmen, maybe not a Fab Five, but maybe a Fab 3 or 4 coming in, have successful regular seasons. Then maybe the tournament didn't pan out. You'd get, you'd match up with an older team like Wisconsin, the Frank Kaminsky. What was my man's name? Sam Decker,
Sam
Frank
Decker.
Kaminsky and Sam Decker. Catch them, in the NBA, yeah. The other guys, Karl Anthony Towns and them, they would wash a Sam Decker, Frank Kaminsky team. But in college, where you got 5 fouls, where the game's a little bit shorter, the game's a little bit slower, they can kind of play you straight up, head up, right? My understanding with this Duke team is that they do have more, not only more depth, but more versatility, right? They can play big, they can play small, and Cooper Flagg's versatile enough to where you can kind of play him anywhere. You can probably play him as a point forward. You can probably play him as a stretch 5. And I think he's naturally a 4. I actually want to make a correction on my statement. I said first freshman since Melo. I got to give respect to Anthony Davis. He was probably the last one to lead his team, along with 3 other freshmen, I believe. Him and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. There was probably, I think Marquise Teague was a freshman on that team as well, if my memory serves correct. And Cooper Flagg's got a lot of similarities to the way Anthony Davis approached the game at 18, at 19 as a freshman. So I got to retract that statement and say since Anthony Davis instead of since Melo.
The thing with Duke is they also do have some veterans.
Yeah.
Like they have veterans who are like in their lineup, not just veteran guys who are riding the bench. So like they have the 4 freshmen, the 3 that Branndon mentioned, and Isaiah Evans, who is also good. He's very talented. And then they've got like Proctor's a sophomore. They've got like a senior guard. Like they've got a couple people who can round out we have been there too. Like we've been playing college basketball for a while to go along with the insane talent that they have out of especially their top 4 recruits. So I think that they've kind of they have to play bad, and a team has to play near their best for them to win. They have to shoot bad from 3, but this year they have like all their best players shoot at least 35% from 3 for the most part, who take a good deal of them, or close to.